Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Blank Pages with our special guest, Laura Thalassa. Welcome!
Yay!
You
Thank you
And did
so
she
much
pronounce
for
it right?
coming. Yeah.
nailed
Even though we
it.
already went over it, we're like, and it's funny because I will do that. I'll be like, I'll keep repeating it in my head. And then when I get to actually saying it out loud, I'll still do it wrong. I'll be like, of course I did.
I'm terrible with names. Terrible.
Well, I heard about you a few years ago from my book club at the Barnes& and Noble. Went absolutely feral for your series. It wasn't finished yet, and I was scared to start it. So we know who you are, but for our audience who's listening, please, if you could just give a little intro about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me here. I'm Laura Thalassa, and I am the author of a few different romantasy series. I think we're calling them romantasy now. I would call them one post-apocalyptic romance. The other was like paranormal romance, but I think that's a little dated. Anyway,
Definitely.
though,
Yeah.
I write kissy books with, fairies and witches and stuff.
I like kissy books. I like that. Let's just break it down. I feel you on that. I used to say urban fantasy or, and now I'm like, is that showing my age? Am I showing how long I've been in this industry?
You know what? I've legitimately seen some of my latest series. I would call it a paranormal romance or urban fantasy. And I've seen a lot of newer. I can tell they're newer readers because will they'll review it low because they're like it was super confusing. Like it was a fantasy setting, but like a modern world with modern lingo. I'm like, there is a name for this.
Yeah.
So
Literally. It's crazy how marketing changes that. I mean, we used to call like all romance with spicy scenes erotica or erotic romance until they all started getting dungeoned and you couldn't call it that or else you wouldn't have a career.
yeah. Yeah. And I think too, what qualifies now, I think what in that same vein, I feel like what would you would call erotica, like what people thought was super, super spicy, now
It's
is
just
pretty
normal
tame.
now. Yeah.
I've talked to some
Now
dark
we're only
romance
getting two
authors.
chili peppers.
Yes. Yeah. So
So,
it's
all
not
right, we'll go
bad. It's
back.
just
Sorry.
different.
We'll go back to your how you started this whole tell us how you started.
A lot of
Oh,
our
okay.
audience, just a lot of our audience are authors. So they love to hear about indie journey versus traditional, why you made some decisions and things like that. And you are a phenomenal author with well-known series. So I think our audience will just devour whatever advice or perspective you happen to have.
Okay, as an aside, not to get sidetracked, but I started listening to your guys' podcast. I've only heard a few episodes because I would listen to it during my walks and I had to switch that time to when I like communicated with my PA.
Yeah.
But I ate up your podcast. I love that. And I loved hearing about, I think Jennifer Armentrout, I heard her talk about her story. So I love that. And I love that there's a lot of authors that tune in because it's super fascinating to me too, how everybody has gotten to this point in their careers. Because
And
they're
there's
kind
not a lot of resources for us. There's not a lot of
of,
this
No.
chatting. I mean, the reason that we did this is because we had a great time at conventions and book signings at the bar. And I think we were at Book Bonanza a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and either Stacy or Colleen came up with the idea. They were like, we should do this all the time on a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to mimic are the authors who meet at the bar after a signing or a convention, just chatting, because it really is like the highlight of going to these conventions and signings for us.
Yeah, and the
that's
latest one is
absolutely.
another one I felt like being with the authors. Finally, you and I having lunch, even though we were still across the but it's just like
Real
this is
ships
the
of the night.
highlight for us. Yeah, we're like there you are. So
Yeah, no, they're hands down. I just absolutely adore getting to chat with other authors at these things because it is like the one time you get to chat with your colleagues. I mean, we don't get to see each other in the office, and nobody else really knows kind of what we go through. Um,
And
which to
hell,
certain,
it could be described as hell. We go both
it's
heaven and hell. Yeah.
honestly, I feel like the challenges come from all directions all the time. I'll introduce how I came to be. So I actually started publishing in 2013. And at the time I wanted to write it was a YA book with vampires. And I'm like, no publisher is going to be interested in this at all. I had just dropped out of, actually, if you go back was in law school. I hated it. I dropped out and was like, what am I going to do with my life? This was 2012. And I, in college, had done a ton of editing for my friends and for professors. It was just something I kind of had a knack for. But nobody was hiring editors. So I just decided to make my own like editing business, put myself out there online. And I slowly started getting writers coming to me and sending me their manuscripts. And so that was my first exposure. And at that time, I had had what became my first book on my computer, but I thought it was just trash. I thought like I had a draft of it. It was like 45,000 words. I was just like, oh, I don't want to touch it. So for about a year, I worked on other people's books. And at some point, I was like, if I can help other people, I can give my own manuscript a second look. Um, and so I did. And it made nothing at first. I think the first month, like June 2013, it was like $86. And I can't say it did all that much better until it got linked up with Scarlett Dawn. I'm not sure she's writing that much anymore, but it got linked up with one of her books.
You pulled a name
That's
out. Oh my
that's
God.
a blast from the past name.
Wow. Yeah.
I know.
I
And it got linked up it got linked up with one of her books, and her book was doing phenomenal. And it sort of boosted my book. It was people who all bought this.
That was back in
Also,
the day when the Kindles would have a, if you liked, you'd also like in the back of the book, right? And you didn't have to pay for it. You got just organic traction just from
yeah.
readers, right? From
Mhm.
reader behavior. I wish they still had that because it was genuine and
Yes.
organic.
Yeah. I think that's why so much of the marketing has shifted to TikTok, right? Because that was where it became organic. I think that for a long time it was Amazon, and then they made authors sort of almost outbid each other and like make it into like a zero-sum game, like which that's just not how it is. It's kind of one of those things where when we uplift each other, we kind of all succeed. So
Yeah, and then
uh,
it did become almost like I remember when I left Kindle Unlimited after my first year and went wide, and I described it as leaving a battlefield and going to what is that game that the really posh British people play with the polo? Is it polo? I said it's literally like leaving a battlefield and then being on a hill with sunshine and people are playing polo. And it was night and day because it did become this like how much is so and so spending on ads? Well, I'm going to spend more. I'm going to target this person's name. I'm going to get like and just people trying to strategize in a way where they're spending and spending and spending rather than looking at profit and seeing whether or not this going after the dangling carrot of rank and author bonuses was even worth what they were doing. And it was, so this is in 2017, 2018. Is that right? How old's my daughter? So 2017, the end of 2017, 2018. Yeah, is when I was like, okay,
that then went wide.
that's when I moved wide. Yep. I was KU for 1 year. I still have my co-writes with Lauren Landish in KU because she's entirely KU. And we've taken it out and put it wide, and it made just as much as being in KU.
It's amazing. I feel like my books that are in KU, 80% of my income is KU, and then
But that
20%.
would, so if you went wide, those
It
people who
would then.
borrowed on KU, a lot of them would buy it, right?
Super interesting. Yeah. Honestly, it's sort of laziness to me where it's like, but I call it diversifying, right? Your income streams, right? It's not all in Amazon. And for me, kind of how I did that was my print rights for most, if not all of my series now are with a publisher. So I kind of feel like I at least have, and then of course foreign rights and then audiobook rights. I feel like I have some different income streams. So if like one sector kind of is hurting, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh my gosh, this is a complete like career failure right
I
now.
hope
So yeah,
every author listening hears that and it resonates,
yeah,
especially with the current climate and boycotting against Amazon, having those multiple revenue streams. Like you've gotta have the money coming in. That is just a part of the business, and you've got to protect yourself by having multiple revenue streams. So I love that. Also, are you really happy with the publisher? I'm guessing bookstores galore. Yes.
You know what? It's Bloom, and I feel like they have done really good for me, or they've been a really good publisher for me because they do kind of let authors more like have more control in the process, and you're not necessarily going to get the frills of like, some of the like, original, is it Big Five now? Have they gone down to five?
It's four. I
I
think
it's way
yeah.
less than 5
It's a
now. I
big
think it's
three.
3. I
They're
think it's
eating
3.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know how you could get I mean, now a bunch of publishing houses are doing, sprayed edges and, hardbacks, but originally it was just Bloom gave small advances, like really small advances. We're talking my latest series. I mean, is it okay to share numbers?
You
Whatever you're
want?
It's up
Yeah,
to
comfortable
you're
you.
with.
comfortable
Yeah,
with.
I
Because
do, but some people don't. Yeah.
my latest series, I mean, I see people talking about, oh, bad advances. The series I'm working on right now, it's 4 books. It's 3 main books and a prequel. The 3 main books was $2,000 per was the advance. Um,
But this is
and
just
that's
print rights.
just what?
This
Just
is
print rights.
print rights.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's their model behind that is that it's a small advance upfront. But they just want you to get to royalties fast. And I think it minimizes their risk or their loss. But then they think they do extra with marketing. So you get on tables, you get on like those
And
the shelves at the end. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
first of all, congratulations. That is fantastic. So very
Thank
happy for you.
you.
Yeah. I think it's
But
fabulous.
I like it because I feel like it's the best of both. I think in Amazon, it's super, super hard to get your books out to bookstores, your print books.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only going through Amazon and using that distribution button. Like they don't want to buy from Amazon to have it in the bookstore when Amazon is deliberately trying to put them out of business.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Or having
Yeah.
your paperbacks on Ingram as well is really beneficial to actually getting into a physical bookstore. Even Montlake books, it's very difficult to find them in bookstores, even though
My
they're
gosh.
right, because people don't want to, those bookstores, not people, the bookstores themselves don't want to give Amazon money. So it's
That's
very
so
difficult
interesting.
for authors to be in bookstores. Yeah, that's the downside. But the positive is that they're given a lot of that algorithmic help
Yeah.
on Amazon if they are a Montlake author. So pros and cons. There's always pros and cons.
Because
And then
Montlake
also,
huge one.
yeah.
I just didn't. Yeah.
Go ahead. Finish your.
Oh no, I just didn't realize that it's still in 2025. That was still happening because that was been happening for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I think
But going back, sorry, to the author thing, what you said about you getting just the print rights and it was low you felt from majority, but people don't realize, yes, you can get a big number at the beginning, but you have to work that off. I think a lot of people forget
it's
that.
just a loan, an advance.
Yeah.
It's a loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so her, like, oh, some people want this ego of like, oh, I got this number. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to work that off.
Yeah.
So
you gotta hit
I'd
that
rather
number.
get to where I'm already, getting the, all the readers' money, that kind of money,
Royalties.
like not,
Yeah.
the royalties. I'm like,
I would
that
always
word,
argue or not argue it, negotiate every contract to have a lower advance for a higher royalty, like 10 times.
yeah.
So interesting that because I actually have that same opinion. Although I don't argue for higher royalties. I think that's really smart. I don't know what my agent does. She does magic.
I'm sure she does it for you. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm positive
I'm
that
sure
she does it for
yeah.
you. Yeah.
But I'm in total agreement. Like honestly, the idea of getting a really big advance makes me super uncomfortable, especially because they hold it against you. So if they say this book, you're going to get a six-figure, $100,000 advance. First of all, once you deduct agent fees, if you have an agent, and then once you deduct what's going to get taxed on it, it's a lot less than $100,000. And then on top of that, if you don't sell enough units to clear that 100,000, you're they're not necessarily gonna pick you up for another book, right? Like they're kind of
And
yeah.
publishers look at those numbers, right? Like those figures go out and was it Publisher Weekly? What's it called? Where you get
Publishers
where
Weekly.
people, people know roughly what's been given, and then they can see your sales on oh God, I forget what that's called too. Marguerite is always talking about it, but they can see the number of sales that have come in on release. So other publishers can also see Was this a relatively good or bad deal? Now, obviously, you never really know the exact numbers or what's in anybody's wallet. But that's a strategic move from publishers. And yeah, if you don't hit that quota, right, you're not doing what you were given in terms of a paycheck of an advance, it is more difficult to get another deal. Now, I personally, I haven't taken a traditional deal yet, but it is a goal this year for me to play and be less
Fingers crossed for you.
I'm actually right now, hopefully maybe by the time this comes out, I can, I'm going through this right now and it is a bigger sum, but I'm putting it to the side because I'm also very aware that, also people don't realize, again, it's a loan. And if let's say you start working with them and you're like, wait a minute, we don't work well together. You're changing my script or something, and this is not at all what I want. You're going to have to give that money back. So like as anybody that's a new author, put that money to the side. Do not spend it until you are very comfortable in that deal. Because that's what I'm in the process of right now. I'm like, that is going to the side and I don't even know it exists.
Idea. I am so excited for you. She did not tell us this. Well, she didn't tell me.
I can't tell anybody this. I'm just hoping by the time this comes out.
I told about this a little bit at lunch. I want to say I got to see Stacey a couple weeks ago. So
that's why we got tattoos.
That's why.
Oh wait, now I got to do this again. I can't get it in. Oh, forget it.
I did the other tattoos. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like, there's a lot of pros and cons with going with a traditional publisher. I think it's smart, again, just to diversify income streams, even to try it out. I think if it's so funny, I feel like there's probably a sector of authors that would balk at this, but I didn't want to sign a traditional publishing deal until I felt like I was safe enough. I had enough income and backlist to take the risk.
Because it's a risk. I'm with you. So if they balk, let them balk.
Yeah, because for me, and I will say, I truly do feel like, at least for me, I have felt that a print only deal was the best of both worlds, because I felt like I really like the low price point that I can offer readers on Amazon, and I still get to keep like 70% of the royalties for that. And then the publishers, I don't really have access to a lot of those spaces. My publisher, they have, beyond just having access, they are constantly in conversations with different bookstores and just different places where they could potentially pitch my book, put it in there. And so that's way beyond what I'm personally capable of doing. So it kind of felt like a win-win. And again, with the $2,000 advance, it kind of felt like to me, well, I wouldn't be getting paid anything if I was just self-publishing this myself. And I'm betting on my books to be able to stand on their own, regardless of what the publisher deems is big or small. But I will say that I do believe bigger advances, they kind of intend to put more effort into your book. So that's what
it's a great thing about this. And it shows even how we all got here. There is no one road. And I think anybody starting out is always looking for this one road. And I'm always the person that they're like, can you give advice? And I'm like, take all of it and throw it all away. Because your road's going to be different, whatever works for you. And, I always just say, just make sure you read that contract and make sure that, they
have a contract lawyer. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
An agent.
But we're all so different in how we want to write and put out our, work. To me, it's like whatever road works for you, just be sure that you own that right and make sure the contract's good,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to emphasize what you said about the publishers having access to things. There are books with dust jackets that have the textured foiling on it, and then they have custom art end pages and sprayed edges and gorgeous foiling, and they're like $20 in a store for a reader to buy. Yes, they are so unbelievably cheap. And as an indie author who isn't buying in bulk and doesn't have access to those printers, like you don't have your own printers, it's producing a book.
We can't compete.
That quality, you're not even going to be able to make it sometimes for the price that publishers are able to sell it and profit at. So you absolutely got access to something that's very, very difficult for indie authors to have access to. Just for everybody listening to really emphasize that point, that
And
is.
I think readers don't understand how much it does cost indie authors to produce those books.
I think a lot of times indie authors themselves don't even understand.
Yeah, until we're like, I'm sorry, how
Until
much?
you try and price them and you're like, oh my God.
And they sold them, and then they're looking at their ledger going, but what happened to the money?
Yeah.
You spent the money to make them. Yes, yes. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
No, don't worry about it. I don't even remember, but I'm sure it'll come back around.
So for readers who are listening or authors who want to read, where would you suggest that they start?
Oh, out of my books? Well, okay. I would say my Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse is technically romantasy, but it's a little different. Like I feel like it's a little different than a lot of the romantasy out there because it's technically not romantasy. But the whole idea, I think the one-line pitch is it's four horsemen who fuck and they're attractive. Excellence does not actually disgusting.
That is the series that my Barnes & Noble book club went feral over. And it was when you hadn't finished the series yet and they were dying. They were all losing their mind with anticipation.
That is like the biggest compliment.
It's complete now, right?
It's totally complete now. I am currently working on I guess you would again call it romantasy, but I tend to think of it as like more paranormal romance or urban fantasy. And to be quite frank, I don't know exactly the distinction between those two genres. Like I don't know. But it's basically an academy kind of it's like a witchy college. And there's creatures too. There's fairies, there's demons, there's kind of an evil ancient sorcerer, and there's fun stuff. But that's an open series. So if you don't like waiting, I would check out either my Four Horsemen series. I also have another series called my Bargainer series.
That's where I found you. That was my first series with you. Yeah.
And that one is also more like paranormal romance, and it has to do with the main character is a siren, and she owes the Fae King of the Night 322 favors. And he has come to collect on them.
Sorry, question. What made you think of just 322? Is that a special number?
A super random number. Like when she was younger, she stacked up a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So, I think that those, and then I have my other series. I'm actually I have another post-apocalyptic series that's even older. But I would say to circle back to that one later because I'm actually going to be working on that one with my publisher and sort of updating it because honestly, I wrote it like about 10 years ago. And anything that's about a decade old, I would like to I've come a long ways since then. Like my craft has gotten so much better. So I agreed to sign a deal with them so long as I could really tinker with that whole story and just polish it a bit. So yeah.
I have an annoying question next.
Oh boy.
I like it.
Yeah, so feel free if you don't want to answer half of it, that's fine. But it's what is your high and your low on this journey? Some people hate the low question. I totally get it.
I'll skip the low. But I will say that I feel like the high was I don't know. You know what? There's been so many of them. Gosh, I feel like for me,
I love that answer, especially it's a full moon, like full moon energy. And there's been so many. I love that. And give me that energy. That is fantastic.
Well, I guess it's there's something to be said of like the high. That means it's like this was epitome when in life isn't like that. It's always like these kind of like that, kind of like a heartbeat,
Yeah. I just think that, I've been so fortunate that on this journey, it's mostly been an upwards trajectory. And so I feel like every time I feel like I've hit the pinnacle, I feel like it was like, oh, like the first time I broke top 1,000 in the Kindle store, and then it was top 100 in the Kindle store, and then it was like top 10 in the Kindle. It's like things like that where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Like I didn't, you hope, but you don't actually necessarily expect it because it's so out of your hands. But I've actually also had to shift my mindset from um, okay, a lot of us here have been in the industry for over a decade, right? I mean,
I'm at
Stacey,
nine
oh, you're
years.
at 9.
I started 2013 with you. Like that was my
Oh,
first book
okay.
release.
I
Yeah.
think you
So
were a little before me even, I want to say. I want to say I saw your
probably.
book. Um, but um, I feel like to be in it for this long, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows. And there's a lot of demoralizing things and a lot of really exciting things. And the one constant is that the industry is always changing. And as soon as you think you got it, the rug's pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
And you almost have to restart at the bottom of the hill. And so for me, I've had to change my mindset to like, one, I cannot like burn the candle at both ends. I've seen so many authors have to just like walk away from the career altogether because they got burned out and it affected their health. And I didn't want that for me, even if my income took a hit. It was super important that I was able to, because it's cathartic for me to write. It's what I would do even if I wasn't getting paid. And um, I've had to also focus on, is this making me happy? Like, am I enjoying the process? And like, I take more breaks if I just need some time to cool off. Like, if there's a low or whatever, and I am not in the right space to write, I give myself a lot of grace with just like taking a little time off. But I've really had to be like, am I proud of this book that I'm writing? Like, is this something that um, I stand by once I put it out there and it's no longer mine, it's the readers. And that I feel like has helped me with like, oh, if this one was a flop, it it doesn't like make me second guess what I wrote because I feel still really proud of the effort and time I put into it and I don't regret that. So that's kind of I've had to switch my mindset because otherwise you do get eaten alive. I feel like if you internalize the highs, then if suddenly you're tanking, it's like super easy to think, well, maybe I just now suck at writing. Maybe I just sort of lost my touch. So,
I love and agree with everything that you said. It's honestly brilliant. And if authors can take that in and understand that and really think about what success means to them, I think we would see more writers, having a happier time along the way, but also maintaining and staying. And one thing that I have a friend, and I just did a retreat with her, and she said, your ROI is one thing, but your ROJ, return on joy, rather than return on investment, also needs to matter. Doesn't matter what your ROI is. If it's a negative ROJ, she doesn't do it. And it's because she wants to be here next year and she wants to keep going.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
like you
awesome.
have a great ROJ.
Sometimes it's hard. The last book I put out, it was like freaking pulling teeth, trying to get it out. So it's not like I'm not always like I try to live by it. I don't know that I always do it, but I try to stay in that headspace because like the truth is like I mean, you put a book out. I think early in my career, I'd put a book out and you're just like waiting for like the raving reviews to come in. And
Right.
immediately it's 2-star. This book sucked, and you're like, my gosh, that was like 4 months of work, and now it's like a year of work for me. So
Do you
yeah,
look at I don't look at my reviews anymore. Do you guys look at your
No,
reviews?
but when you first start, you do.
you
Like,
test.
it's like a natural, but like I think
Yeah,
the more and more you get into this is my business and I've got to want to last. I've got to not read those because
yeah,
I'm too much. I get in my headspace. I could read 20 great reviews and I'll be like, oh, that's so nice. That makes me feel good. I read one bad one and I'm devastated. Like I'm in a ball and thing and I can't write for 2 weeks. It's like I'm so emotionally
yeah.
like, I'm like, no,
Protect your
gotta
peace.
turn off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me with social media. I had to pull way back. Once I feel like I got pretty visible. Like right now, my PA does a ton of my social media. I will obviously send her stuff to post. But yeah, for the most part, I try to stay off of there because it
People can be
is,
awful. They could
It's
be
brutal.
yeah.
atrocious on TikTok. I had a TikTok go off about my discreet series yesterday, and the number of men who commented about how I was a pervert for writing porn was way too high. I just blocked.
Oh,
Ugh.
But yeah, it can be very difficult on your mental health for sure. That's one thing that I had to toughen up on.
yeah. I mean, you do get thick skin. You do, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of insults that's like, okay, take a number.
Yeah, yeah,
All
literally.
right.
I've started saying that sounds like a you, like that's for you. That's
Mhm.
not for me. Yeah,
Well,
that's
that
a
sounds
you
like,
thing.
or I
Yeah,
will just say that sounds like a personal problem.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and not mine, not my problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. As we
Um,
wrap up, are there any last minute thoughts, questions, or advice that you could give out to?
Holly, what's a good advice or like things that you've learned along the way that you're like, oh, if I only,
I mean,
understood that as a baby author.
I feel like I gave you my little sage wisdom there with the like,
It was really
I
good.
will say this too. I feel like, I mean, I think most authors know this, assuming that authors are the ones that are listening, but like, we're not like competition, like I love sharing, author friends' books. If something looks interesting, I like posting in my stories and, truly readers want stuff to read. Like, they're not thinking, oh, I'm only going to read Laura Thalassa. And like, that's it. I'm going to wait a whole year. I'm not going to read anything. It's like, no, no. And it's like, I feel like it's likely that if they like a book that you wrote, well, then if you recommend a book, they're
Mhm.
going to find a new author they love. And it just, I don't know. I think that it
I've
can be
seen
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen authors go like, "Oh, my readers." I'm like, "They're not your readers." Not like you haven't sat on them like, "These are mine."
And
And I'm like, "That's not how it works." I'm like, plus, why would we want like I don't want one thing, like I love reading tons of different styles. So yeah, that whole like mine, like that makes me so crazy.
it is. And statistics back this up because it's something like, first of all, we're the number one genre by more than double the next. And second of all, it's something like 40% of our readership reads a book a week, and almost 20 reads a book a day.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
Wow.
cannot possibly keep up with the appetite of our readers. They're so voracious. So sharing is better for you from a marketing
Mhm.
point because then your readers
Sharing is caring.
is.
And
It's
it'll bring them back to you too.
Yeah.
exactly, yes. And
Mhm.
then it develops that community. So 1,000% exactly what you're saying.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
okay, well, where can we find you?
Yes.
Cool. So I think I'm on, okay, I'm not on TikTok. Actually,
You're
my
not on
PA,
TikTok? You so your
she
PA.
might, you know what?
Her PA is.
What did it for me was I had gotten TikTok for a bit. I got immediately addicted to it. I was losing all sense of time.
Yeah, somebody
As
needs
that,
to help me.
that
I need
happens.
help right now. Yeah.
I feel like my emotions were taken for a ride because it would be like, oh my God, that was such a funny video. And oh, this one's heartwarming. Oh my God, that is the saddest thing I've ever seen. And I was just getting emotional whiplash. And then sometimes I'd see my books come up. And oh my God, I feel like there was this one where I saw it and they were like, these are the worst books I've ever read. And I'm like, okay, I need to delete this
Oh,
app.
yeah.
I need to delete this app. It was like, that is the one-star review being put right in front of your face that like you were not looking for.
And it's awful when they tag you or they use your
Mhm.
hashtag because you're
Yeah.
gonna see
Yes.
it. You were like
Mhm.
it's ridiculous. But yeah, I am still addicted to TikTok. Same thing where I went down the rabbit hole. I was pregnant during 2020 though, so I was allowed to go. Everybody was down some kind of a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Back
Well,
in bed, learning
I,
hobbies.
s- yeah, I swear, like Netflix and them are making crap TV just because they know that we want something on here while we do this. Like, 'cause
Yes.
I was like the other day, I couldn't find anything, so I watched something again while I'm scrolling for another 3 hours of my life. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I need help.
Just eats time up. I don't even
Yeah.
understand it. Yeah.
There is an account though where they could follow just to get like information about
I'm
you.
sorry, I totally got sidetracked. Instagram is usually where I am mainly, and like where like I am actually on there. And um also I have a Facebook page, and I'm on Threads. I'm technically on X, but I don't ever.
Oh,
It just looks like every time I click on it, it just looks like you know those web pages that are only ads. But
yeah.
like if the ads were like sort of like evil bots,
Yeah.
that's
So,
that's my like X home feed. So I just sort of stay away from it. But I don't even think I'm on there, but I don't think I've posted in like a year, maybe more. So
Your
Instagram.
handle-
Okay.
Yeah. Is your handle your name? It's just your name?
oh yes, Laura Thalassa. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm really bad at this plug stuff.
No worries. That's what we're here for. We'll take care of it. Don't worry. And it'll be in the caption and everything. And speaking of plugging, guys, like, share this with all of your favorite readers and authors. Tag anybody you think should come on the show. Make sure you like and follow and all that good stuff. And make sure that you follow Laura and read the Four Horsemen or the Bargainer series. One or the other or both. Why not both? Right?
Mhm. And if you have
Just
any
go through them all.
questions, make sure you put them in the comments.
That
Yes.
too. That too.
Well, thank you, Laura, for absolutely. It was such a joy
Yes.
to have you. And I was so glad we finally had lunch again from afar.
No, thank you, ladies, so much for having me on here. It's been so fun to chat. I mean, I just wish we had a little drink with us, and
Well,
we're in
I have-
person.
Next time.
I did
She
bring
does.
them here. I was
She
the
was
only
drinking
one.
for us.
Yeah, I will drink 2 more of these just for you. 3 more. I apologize. 3 more.
It's just a little too early for us Pacificers, like us West Coasters. We're like, give us an hour. It's not even happy hour. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.